You've been in the on-prem world, you're now in the cloud world. I think that there are major issues for consultants that are used to working in the on-prem world trying to transition. At least that's what I'm suspecting. I mean, what is your take? I mean, what does it take to actually make this transition successful?
But I think the very first thing is identifying and understanding that huge constraints in the technical world have changed and configuring a business without those constraints in mind. And what I mean by that is when I started my career at Accenture, I remember I got kudos in my first review because I installed, didn't get working, installed SAP in 3 days instead of 7. Right? I mean, and it's like that's the world we lived in where it was, hey, perspective, that's a great job where I just cost the company a bunch of hours because I did it a little faster than regular. Now we're in a world in the cloud, Salesforce.com App Engine, it takes a developer anywhere in the world 30 seconds to get access to the full environment. That's a pretty transformative thing, right? It totally changes the way labor is organized. It totally changes how you think about approaching the problem. And you know that the technology you're training them on is going to change 3, 4, 5 times a year, not once every 3, 4, 5 years. And I think those are pretty structural changes that then imply a very different way of organizing an ecosystem around those technologies.
Okay, so with those kind of changes in mind, what do you say to these guys who have been so used to spending this leisurely amount of time doing whatever it is that they do, billing insane amounts of money, but knowing that this new world's coming to them? Because I mean, it is fundamentally a different thing.
So first of all, let me not criticize folks. I don't think people are sitting on their ass. They're working really hard in things that don't have an impact, right? You're getting servers set up instead of actually being associated with what's happening. I think the couple big shifts is that you've got to be able to think about both the strategy, the business process, and the technology. Before, it was impossible because the breadth was so wide. The deepest technology guys you never saw because they were thinking about server configurations and how we were going to scale and how to set up the distribution and failover. And that had so little to do with the business process that it was impossible for one person to be involved. It was kind of like if you think about, the difference between making a sculpture and drawing a drawing. A sculpture, you got to get stone and have a whole team just to do anything. Whereas now, because of the way development is, it's much more like drawing a picture. The cloud has removed the constraints, and so you have to have people who can bridge the entire spectrum. You've got to have folks that really can, when they're talking to a customer, are thinking about their business strategy, are in their minds translating that into a business process and translating that into actual code, right? And I think that's a really important thing. Eventually, of course, tasks will get distributed, but for the first time ever, you actually can go from thought to finish to in a real sense with one person. And I